All right, everyone, welcome back to BBB Sharing. I'm Evie, Director of Ignite, sparked by BBB. We're here in the Ignite podcast studio again with our CEO and President, Barry Moore. And we have two lovely gentlemen here with us today. We have Joe Casey and Garrett, remind me again? Hart, that's right. Sorry, Barry likes to tell me people are coming last minute, and so I try to learn the names really quick.
That's what we do here.
But it keeps me on my toes and it keeps me busy, and I love that. But I get to meet wonderful people like you as well. So go ahead, introduce yourselves, and tell everyone what you do.
I'm Joe Casey. I have the pleasure and honor serving as Chesterfield's County Administrator. And like you, I was here in another meeting with Barry. He said, just stop in this room right here and say a couple of words.
And I got the honor to join Joe in doing that. My name is Garrett Hart, and I'm the Director of Economic Development for Chesterfield.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for being here today. I am going to ask you a few questions. Do the best you can to answer them, although I'm sure you will. One of the things that I wanted to ask you guys, and what is the economic development, and why is it so important for communities?
At its pure sense, economic development is the profession of growth of business in the United States. Our job is purely to help businesses grow and to come to the U.S. and grow, start up, and create jobs. That's the pure and simple what it does. Why it's important to our communities is in two reasons at the local level. I'll talk about where we are at the local level. One is the creation of jobs for our citizens and creation of better jobs for our citizens so that everybody can have a higher quality of life through the operation of a good employment and a good career. Secondly, it is for the capital investment that comes along with the businesses and the taxes that businesses pay on their property and equipment and sales tax and so forth. Those funds are used for us to create the quality of life in our community, which is the schools, the police force, the parks and recreation, the road, street, water, and sewer. So it is critically important for us to do our best to attract quality companies that do investment, create great jobs, so that we can continue to have the finest schools and the finest programs in the country.
And I'll just expand upon from my perspective is, when you define quality of life, it's simple words: live, work, play, learn. You'll generally see them, and every locality should aspire to have those four simple words and perfect it. And so, Garrett in his department, invariably, if I'm involved in any of those four words and meetings and strategies, how to make any of the four or multiple of those words work together, economic development has to be at the table because they help create that environment. Every parent wants their child to graduate high school with a career-minded aspect, whether it's that next day or a couple of years later. So if we're graduating 5,000 students every day, we have a responsibility to the parents, and they want us to have that responsibility of that gateway, that can be there and the variety of things so we can match the passions and skills of those 5,000 people with the community. It goes hand in hand. We need the businesses existing to be growing as well as new ones to be created.
I think the workforce development is something I love to talk about, and it's because it's been a passion and something I've been on 20 years ago. When I was in the car business in Chesterfield County. It was always about who was going to take my job or who was going to be taking care of the customer, mechanic, body shop, whatever the case may be. And so workforce development, work-based learning, I believe, is the best kept secret in the Commonwealth. Government is not always good on advertising. I joke with Katie over at Chesterfield County, and I love helping her and then the state, because work-based learning is something where companies could raise their hand and help children that are almost seniors, right, become interns and get jobs. And then you could follow them their whole career in college, 2-year or 4-year, and then hire them at the end, promise them a job. So that is an important thing. We have HARP. We talked about that a lot here at the BBB with Carl Leonard's been here a couple times. And a lot of counties have those programs, but Carl has led it. And then real life, I worked with at the Richmond City Jail with C.T. Woody and Sarah Scarborough. And now Sarah is running real life 10 years later, doing great things, getting people ready for the workforce. Garrett, how important do you get that question when somebody wants to move to Chesterfield County to bring their company, set up shop? What do they ask you? If you give us a couple taglines or whatever that is.
Sure. The number one the number one issue for all companies that are expanding, companies that are locating, companies that look to your area to see if they are closer to their customers. So the number one issue is workforce. Where can I get my employees? Where are they going to come from? Who's going to train them? You know, and it used to be, do you have a site big enough for me or that works for me? And workforce was third. Now workforce is first. The second thing would be, are there sites available for us? And third is the old the old real estate axiom: location, location, location. Are you located close to the customers or close to the raw materials or wherever, something like that? But workforce far outweighs the rest of them now in what we do. And the programs that you just mentioned, Barry, are ones that we are supporting and believe in wholeheartedly, because everybody at this point in the world, we need everybody who can work to be in the workforce working with us.
And I'll say one of the things that Garrett does really well in his whole department is, you know, they pull out from the customer or prospect what is exactly that you need, you know, and we will re-engineer our shop to do what you need to do to be successful. So if you need a community college program created and you give us 3 years head start, we'll be having that program up and running with the accreditations and certifications. And, you know, Bright Point Community College is our go-to for that.
Right.
And, you know, so they are part of the economic development team. And that's just one example. But if you tell us a need, or you tell us what kind of housing your employees may like, or what amenities would you like for a community, you know, depending upon the size and scope, you know, we will try and figure that out to the best of our abilities as local government and make friends and partnerships in the private sector to be win-win.
So what's happened in the world of economic development since I've been in it for 40 years, you used to go out and grab the business and attract them to come to your locality, and then the people came and moved in to have those jobs. It's complete reversal now. Now people live, 71% of the people in the country move to a location where they want to live before they figure out what the job is. So they're going to where they get the quality of life that they want. The companies are now chasing them. So I spend a lot of my time now working on quality of life, making sure that we've got the right housing, the right live, work, and play balance, the right recreation, a business but individual-friendly government system and tax system and so forth. All of those things that attract talent is what I'm chasing, because if I can get the talent here, the companies will follow.
That was actually going to be my next question, is what are some aspects about the quality of the infrastructure in the area that encourage businesses to come to your location? What are some things that they're like, this is a deal breaker for me?
Well, we're currently in one of the largest growth spurts this country has ever seen in the business of distribution, manufacturing, and even retail. It's just tremendous, the volume that's going on. And but these projects are huge. They take a lot of electricity, they take a lot of water, they take a lot of sewer, and they take a large workforce. So if you don't have one of those aspects, you're not in the deal. You just. So we spend a lot of time when we're responding to these companies, making sure that we check the big boxes. Mm-hmm. We've got the water, we've got the sewer, we've got the land, we've got the power, and then we spend a whole separate chapter on here's how we're going to get you the labor, and here's how we're going to train it, and here's how we're going to put it together. But in this world, you mentioned earlier in another podcast we did with you how everything is online and you can get scammed and so forth. Well, companies are looking at us online and either moving farther towards us or eliminating us without us ever even knowing they've looked at us. So, so we have to really shine a light on the quality of life and on the assets and infrastructure that we do have and how we're going to deal with that. We have to tell that story all the time out in front, even when you don't know who we're talking to. Because we'll get eliminated if we don't.
It used to be, and Garrett can maybe validate this, we're old enough to know, in the beginnings of our careers, a business interest in expanding or moving to a new location was 100% financial. It's like, I'm going to invest this amount of money, and I'm going to get this much return. And that's how that's how I learned business finance through college. And while they still may lead with that and they still make an important business decision, nowadays everyone's competitive enough to make you profitable in many locations. Now the second tier is, how quickly can I fill a job? Are you going to create an employment base in the area so that people and the quality of life, so people who get a job here, whether they're homegrown or from afar, they want to grow roots here. So I don't have a 20% turnover rate that I have to worry about filling every year. How are we going to be educating the worker's child so they don't have those other distractions in life?
Right.
What's the healthcare community? Are all people welcomed and accepted, a very inclusive community, so that, again, it just feels like you're checking 100 different boxes. Now, the first box still may be the business box, but it's not the only box anymore.
Yeah, we are at the Better Business Bureau. So I love what you said, Garrett. As people are doing research, these big companies, small companies, the employers need to know this. I don't care how big you are. Believe it or not, we have young kids, adults, parents, check BBB.org first to find out about the company's reputation. It's not what's it called?
Door?
Is it Glassdoor?
Oh, Glassdoor?
Glassdoor.
Yeah.
It's not all just be reading that.
I thought you were going to say food insecurity.
Yeah, well, no, we're going there, though, because you read my mind. But it's, they're not just going there. And companies believe that. Where that's a bunch of employees, I might get real mad and put something crazy up, or my father might own the company and I'm a raving fan. BBB.org is going to show the community and a future business possibly relocating what that company does, right? And the employee has a choice to go on interviews. They can go anywhere they want. And I look at the county in Chesterfield County. Again, we handle 42 counties, so I'm non-denominational, but I love Chesterfield because I lived there for 20 years, and I have a lot invested there, a lot of friends. You guys have to do the same thing to get employees to work for you, Dr. Casey, and the supervisors who are always turning over. But again, it's an alignment, right? And so, whether it's a sheriff or a police chief or fire and EMS, the stability, or King's Corner, right? Or Brock's Barbecue, the stability in our county, and I'll call it our county right now, Chesterfield, are key. And you can go and learn at bbb.org. And so before you take a job, you guys, what I will tell you is I've learned a lot by listening to you for 2 years. I think when you go into conversations or you're presenting, you both are great listeners, and I assume your staff are. You don't shoot off real quick. You really study before you're not selling anything. You believe in what you're doing. Same thing for all of us and our staff, and we're going to introduce you around quickly, get you a piece of pizza, and let you out of here because you got to get back over the river. Your passport's going to expire soon. But the bottling company, I believe you were there, the bottling company at
Niagara.
Cheston. Yeah. So a buddy of mine from New Jersey, small world, my next door neighbor, worked on that company, worked for that company, starting the plants up.
Okay.
So when he started, he came down here and he did one in Pittsburgh, and then he rolled down here, and I lived there and I lived here. And he came and explained there might be 26 employees because everything's robotics, but they still need humans. Greenswell. Greenswell, have you ever been there and visited over in Goochland? It's an amazing process. He's growing more lettuce in California with very few employees, but the employees are critical.
Yeah.
He needs high-end people.
No, if you look at Niagara Bottling as a great example.
Yeah.
Niagara Bottling makes the bottle. They make the bottle cap.
Yes,
They take Chesterfield water and they refine it to their level, and they fill the bottles and put the caps on with no human contact. They put the bottles in a 6-pack. They put them in a case. They put them on a pallet. They put them in a truck with no human contact. The first time that bottle of water is touched is when a customer gets it off the shelf. But what they do need humans for is to keep all of those machines that do all I just described working. They're there to keep those machines happy. It's also interesting that you bring up Niagara because we had a discussion earlier this morning about they're wanting to, they need to hire more people too, as all our local businesses too, because they're growing and expanding. And they called on we have a workforce, Tina Shreve, who works only on workforce for our companies. She's dedicated completely to workforce. They had a conversation with her where they wanted to do a middle school intern day where the kids came out and saw it during the day. And she, knowing the problem better than most, said, no, let's don't do it during the day. Let's see if we can get the middle school to do something in the afternoon between 5 and 7 that the parents can come as well. She says, because we need the parents of those middle schoolers to understand what kind of good jobs these are, and then we'll have it.
Genius.
It is. And but that's the kind of things we're thinking about, the kind of things. One of the other thing we've discussed earlier today, because of COVID, the workforce issue just has gotten exaggerated. It's more. The volume has gone up. We've had a workforce. Workforce has been a key issue to keep it just because of population. But it shined the light on it. But what it's also done is it shined the light in a way that the businesses are now more cooperative and willing to do more things, be more participatory in training their own employees and getting their own employees. So we have a lot of really neat things going on between our companies and our community college and our tech schools, where they're working jointly to customize the training for each job.
I will. Evie's going to get mad because we're at 16 minutes. So I know Dr. Casey's probably got something to end up on, but I want to go real quick. I hope you use this podcast or something like it, where you can replace Evie and I, and you can retape it with better stars. But Evie's pretty good. I would keep Evie. But we hope we use this podcast to talk about what our community is all about and what this Better Business Bureau with Ignite, sparked by BBB, is all about. We're concentrating on living, homes, economic things that are affordable and ideas, right? So how does the BBB, we have conversations, fentanyl, we don't want to see any more children. We have Woody's Funeral Home that'll be here on Monday. Christina Demon from Chesterfield County will be here. She unfortunately has to say goodbye to the children with the families all around, and the breakdown, the suicides that she sees, the mental health, and it's all over the world. It's not just here. But we, as the Better Business Bureau, nonprofit, not funded in any way other than we get funded by accredited businesses, we want to shout it from the mountaintop that this is the place to come. And we want to address food insecurity. Evie's got me down on that word. I'm right. There's no reason we should be feeding more people at the food bank. We got to get Kim Hill does an amazing job. God bless her. But again, we have got to get something under control. We got to start making differences and not raising money as nonprofits, talking about it. The Hart program actually does what they say they're going to do. And that's where we got to hold our feet to the fire. We got plenty of money here, and we want companies to be attracted, satisfied, and retained. And I love what you said. People come to live here first, then find a job. So, Dr. Casey?
Well, just some, I don't know if it's closing thoughts or just thoughts, but I'll get them in there between Barry's statements there, which are all good. But just to reiterate, we ourselves are an employer too. We're also a very large employer. There's about 12,000 people in Chesterfield County, school side, county side, that have my name on their paycheck. So I have a responsibility to that. And they then have a responsibility in being a good steward and customer service rep. And you have large companies and you have the smallest companies. But again, it just takes one employee interaction, sometimes to make or break possibly even a BBB accreditation. One employee. And again, a lot of times we think of government, you're big, but it's not big when it's one teacher in second grade with a class of 22 kids. That teacher is the most important commodity we have for those 22. We have one police officer responding at 3 a.m. to a call by him or herself. That particular interaction is the most important interaction to that 911 caller. So, even though we are large at 12,000, we try and design how to make the work environment great for 12,000 and the service standards. We also have to respect the fact, we're probably, again, a multi-disciplined entity if you think about the soup to nuts that we do. And nothing against the private sector, but the private sector has bestowed upon us everything they don't want to do. Mm-hmm. So it's not all of it's easy, and a lot of it's regulated and a lot of it's inherited as far as state and federal regulations that, again, I know a lot of your accredited businesses have to follow that may make the customer experience a little bit less than it otherwise could be. Mm-hmm. So we're all in this together. And all I can do is just try and create a community that, you have a good life there as a child, as a worker, as a retiree, because there's nothing more important to me and nothing makes me feel good at the end of the day where I see 3 generations, maybe 4 now in a row, because those roots, if they're in Chesterfield County or even the region, I'll give that as a shout out, because those family support networks are number one priority. All the issues that you see facing society that you've referenced that are all real, sometimes invariably some of that arises because there's not a support network for that person in need. We're there for them as a government,
Yes, sir.
but we're not family.
Right.
I will say this. I grew up in a family that owned businesses, so I understand the regulations that come with that. And I will say that they are in place to protect people. Rules are rules. They're there for a reason, and we may not like them, and they may not pertain to all of us, but they're there to protect us at the end of the day. And so the BBB makes sure that, the businesses are doing that and helping you guys out a little bit too.
And by the way, where we got Evie Carriage from? Brick House Diner.
All right.
How about that?
We should have led with that.
She's
That's
kidding,
great.
right? She's kidding to that family.
Building a brand new restaurant in
Right.
Chesapeake County.
Yeah,
No,
they're
that's great.
excited.
No, but
She was at that groundbreaking.
Where's the baklava?
Right.
Yeah,
I
really.
know. Actually, that's funny. I promised our board members baklava if they all responded to my email.
Her grandmother's the one that makes it all.
Oh yeah, it's
For
wonderful
Nick
stuff.
and Vic, yeah.
Yep.
So just to add to what you just said, there are rules and things that we have to do, and they have to get through that process. But both Dr. Casey and I, our job every day is to get businesses and citizens through those rules so that they can excel.
Of course,
and
you all
grow.
want them to succeed. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Well,
Right.
thank you, gentlemen, so much. Barry, thank you for joining us.
Of course, Evie.
For those of you that are listening on Spotify, make sure to follow and comment down below. Let us know what you think. For those of us watching on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe and make sure to share. Thank you.
Thank you.